What's up, guys? We're back. This is a little bit different scene. I know you guys are used to seeing me out on the water pretty much 90% of the time. Well, it's been a little bit slow lately. We're kind of in that fall transition. Fish are starting to kind of start to move up again, and starting to catch them on jigs like crazy. I mean, most of this year I've caught them on jigs, but that's just the main way that I really like to fish. So here's an in-depth video on basically setting up jigs, my preference with jigs, and kind of just my local area of expertise in some of the jigs that I throw. So without further ado, let's get into it and get some jigs busted out and show you guys kind of just some little tips and tricks on what I like to do when getting a jig straight out of the package.
Oh, good fish.
Alright, guys, so let's get into this. Let's get a little breakdown going, and kind of just going to talk to you guys mainly just about my local area. It's really hard to try to venture out, much further than that and try to tell people that a lot of these baits are going to work for their waters, because I haven't been out there. I don't know. I don't know exactly 100% if they really will. So we're just going to go through some of the tips and tricks that I've learned through jig fishing, through catching a lot of bass, and honestly multiple different species on jigs. But some of the things that have just helped me along the way, and I think will help you guys as well. So starting off, one of the biggest things is basically just a bare jig. Like, let's just go with a bare jig. A ton of these guys through Tackle Warehouse, I want to say they're like a boss jig is what they're called. It's kind of a flipping and swimming jig style, and it works really good for both kind of deal. You could definitely throw a paddle tail or a swim jig on there and swim it just like that. But I use a lot of these mainly just for flipping, throwing some different type of craw baits on it, like these Riot Little Fuzzy beavers. Basically, just they're called the Little Fuzzy, but it's like a beaver style bait. And they do make this in a little bit bigger style. I want to say it's like a 4-inch, a little bit over 4-inch, for fishing largemouth and things like that. But they work absolutely amazing out here for smallmouth. They are one of my, what I called a secret bait for quite a long time when they were first released. And I've just noticed a lot more hype, at least, going on in the YouTube, and just different YouTubers out using this bait. I do believe it did just come in a mystery tackle box as well. So a lot of you guys out there that are subscribed to Mystery Tackle Box know about that bait already. But it's a great trailer for different jigs and things like that. So I pair it up pretty well with this Boss. I think it's a flipping jig is what they call it, but like I said, it could be a swim jig if you needed it to be also. So anyways, first thing, right out of the package, this is a brand new jig, just pulled it out of the package. And one of the first things that I always do, and I always tell people that I believe sets aside from a lot, is your weed guard. So you're gonna grab that thing right off the bat as soon as you get the jig in your hands, and you're just gonna basically take your thumb right here on top of the weed guard and see how hard that is to press down. If you can basically take your thumb and kind of rest it and get it to fold down enough to get that hook in, then it's not going to be too bad of a hook set. It's going to be pretty easy to get that hook set in there and drive it home. But if you notice it's pretty hard, or it's a little bit hard, and you feel like you're missing a lot of fish, you're out there, you're already fishing it, and you just feel like you're getting bit, that you got a bite, but you're just not getting that hook set into them. So one of the big things that I like to do with my weedless jigs is, you can always notice that this weed guard comes a little bit too far up over the hook. So you can trim that down just basically so it's just right at the point of the hook. And that's still going to make it weedless. That weed guard's really just barely deflecting stuff off to go over the sides. And so you're not getting stuff, hooked into your hook or hung up or, stuck on the bottom. But having such a stiff weed guard, sometimes, it makes it so you lose a lot of fish and you can't quite get that hookup ratio. So what I like to do is take my needle nose here, and basically you will separate these guys out just a little bit, just enough to have a few strands hanging out here on the bottom, just chilling. And that's not going to be your weed guard. This is actually going to be the portion of the weed guard you're going to be removing. And doing this allows a little bit of space down here at the head of the jig, right down here, to open up and allow the rest of your weed guard that you're holding back right here in your hand to sit a little bit further back this way and make it a lot, and I mean a lot, easier to get that hookup ratio just a little bit more. And if you're getting a little bit, a little bit more hookup ratio and a little bit more fish in the boat once in a while, it's definitely going to help big time. So we're just going to take our needle nose just like this, grab around the tops here, and then I simply bend over so you get a little bit more bite, and then you're just going to want to pull straight out. Piece of cake, just like that. And if you don't get all of them on the first try, then just go back in. The ones that you had bent over, are the ones that you're wanting to pull out. So that's another reason for bending them over, is you already know that you were planning on pulling those guys out. So after that is done and you have all those pulled out, then you're simply going to push your weed guard back down now, do the same trick as before, and it should be just a ton easier. You can see how easy that is to just fold in there. And you guys can take a jig straight out of the package, and just with one simple thing, without even having any tools, any pliers, anything on you, just one simple thing to do with a weedless jig is to grab that weed guard and push it all the way to the top and then bring it all the way back. And do that 3 or 4 times. Get that weed guard in motion of what it's going to be doing. And this way, it's a little bit already worked in, I guess you would say. And this way, when you go to set that hook into a fish, you're not doing it, you're not working it in by trying to catch that fish. You've already got it worked in. So that first fish that ever hits you throughout the day, or you're on one of those grind days where you're just out there forever, and you've gotten a bite like right off the bat, but you missed him, and then the rest of the day you haven't gotten a bite at all. So it's like, it really starts to irritate you in the back of the head that there could have been something you could have done a little bit better to hook up with that fish. But it's not always the case. I mean, we're not always going to get that lucky, So that's where I like to start, just because, that weed guard can be a big factor. And I love the weed guards because you don't get hung up as much. I mean, fishing rocks, fishing grass, there's a lot of different things you can use it for. Next step is actually trimming down this weed guard. So as I spoke about it a little bit earlier, the tips always come out a little bit too far and make it quite the pain in the butt to get hookups. But if you trim that down just a little bit, just the tip of it, you don't want too much off of it because you still want it to be exposed over the end of your hook, but you're just going to trim just the tip off. So take some good scissors that are meant for braid, that have your good gradient lines and whatnot on them to slice through it pretty easily, and you're simply just going to go right to the tip there and just snip those off nice and even. And now you can notice that it's just barely covering the end of that hook. So this is also going to help you on hookup ratios, and you still won't get it snagged up as much. But big helpers on any way that you would like to, fish a jig. It's just a lot more convenient. You'll get a lot more hookup ratio, and things go pretty smooth after that. So that's how I tend to rig them up. I love rigging them up with these smallie beavers, or one of my other all-time favorites is this is a new one that just came out, like I think last month or so. Is the new Z-Man TRD Bugsy. Oh, excuse me, guys. It's been talked about quite a bit. It is definitely one of my new favorite baits. It makes a very small presentation, and you don't always want a small presentation, that's for sure. I mean, fishing largemouth, you're going to want, some bigger presentations to come up with some bigger fish, but it's not always about that, too. I mean, you could be out there grinding and have a day that you just don't catch any fish because you're flipping too big of a jig. So it definitely helps and pays off a lot more to throw in there something a little bit smaller, something a little bit more finesse that you're gonna get the hookup, the hookup ratio on. So I like these little flipping jigs from Boss. These are a 1/4 ounce, they're a little bit big, but when I downsize even smaller than this, and I know you're probably like, wow, you go even smaller than that. I like to switch it up to just the simple little striking bitsy jigs. They already come with a weed guard that is very, very active, super easy to get hook sets in. You don't have to mess with that thing whatsoever. But when it comes to skirts, the skirts are always usually a little bit long on these. So what I like to do, and I usually trim up all my skirts. You'll see me in a lot of different videos and things. Just usually before I get tied up and ready to go, I'm doing this. I'm trimming up my skirt. And what I mean by that is basically just taking my scissors. What you're gonna want to do is make it look like it's, not really completely real. I like to trim them up a lot so they have a little bit more breathing room for that trailer to come through. And then even up on the top here, I just take a little bit of pieces out here and there. So now you have a pretty good looking jig. It's really small, finesse looking like, and then you put a really small trailer on that thing and it gives it that full profile. So I'll show you guys what I mean here, because I already have one tied up on a rod. This is definitely one of my smallmouth killers. I hate to even be giving it away because I'm sure a lot of people use it, but hey, if you're catching fish, then I'm happy. So let's just get right into that. So here's basically just a small bitsy jig. This is a brown and green one that I love throwing, and yeah, it's just got one of these little bugsies hanging off the back of it, and you can barely even see it in there really, but it makes up the rest of the jig. It makes up the big trailer in that. And like I said, they're not always looking for a huge bite, so you can catch very big fish on just a simple setup just like that. Pretty easy. There's tons of different jig trailers. That's probably going to be, tuned in for another video. I have millions of different jigs and jig trailers we can go through, but one of my favorites for fishing up here in the Northwest is right there. Big time. Smallie magic. That's what I call it. So basically that's just kind of your roundabout, just jigs, some simple little tips and tricks you guys can just toward your next fishing trip or whatever, and it should help you guys, hook up on fish a little bit more. There's tons of different jigs you can get into, largemouth, smallmouth, things like that. But as for just getting out there catching smallies up here in the Northwest, that's what I really like to go with. That's what I like to throw. It seems to be just the killer, the money. So yeah, like I said, there's a bunch of different jigs we can get into and go through. One of my probably favorites, I would say, for largemouth fishing is this new one that just came out. It's not super new, but came out by announced or released off of Catch Co, Mystery Tackle Box, things like that. But it's called the Trash Master jig. You've probably heard it if you watch John B video. He throws a lot of these. Only downside of these guys is, yes, they're pretty much made for largemouth fishing, and they're heavy. I believe they don't come anything smaller than a 3/8 ounce. And for everything that I fish up here in the Northwest, pretty much everything, I throw 1/4 ounce or 3/8 at most. So when it switches up and you got to throw some bigger 1/2 ounce jigs, things like that, I'm not super used to that style of fishing. I'm definitely still getting into that and learning about it myself, but I don't know a whole lot about it. Let's just say that. Largemouth fishing is not my forte. I can get out there and I can catch them with the rest of the boys, but I don't feel as confident as I do with smallmouth. Smallmouth, I feel like I can go out there and I can just about get anybody on one, and usually a pretty good one too, but it's not always the case. It's definitely not always the case. Some days the fish aren't biting. That's just how it goes. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little video on jigs and basically just some little tips and tricks. I know it's not a super long video, just wanted to kind of get out here, show you guys a little bit of some tackle and some rigging and just little things that could definitely help. And yeah, don't be afraid to downsize. Definitely don't be afraid to downsize. If you're throwing a pretty decent sized jig and you feel like you're getting bit but you're not getting the hookup ratio, simply downsize. It's gonna make it your best bet. And if you're getting bit on, say green throughout 90% of the day, and then the sun sun goes behind a hill and everything shuts off and you're just dead in the water, don't think it's your bait. Just think of color. Switch up the color a little bit. Maybe throw black and blue in there, and see what happens. So it's definitely not always going to be that it's the bait itself. It could just be the color. So definitely don't just completely stray away from that. Using that bait, that could get you out of the full hook in position anyways. So downsize, switch color, and if that doesn't work, then try something else. But mainly for fishing up here, a lot of the smallmouth, a lot of the largemouth even, sometimes smaller is better, that's for sure. I know there's going to be fights against that probably in the comment section, because I know I got a lot of big bait friends also that just absolutely pound the big baits. They're always throwing huge, giant, just, yeah, crazy things, triple trouts, and oh yeah, just obnoxious baits in my opinion. But I get out there, I'll throw an S-waver or so here and there. I'm not super keen into it. I just simply love getting out there and catching fish and hanging out with the bros. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little jig fishing tutorial, I guess you would say. Oh, I needed to go into rods. Everybody's gonna have a different style. Everybody's gonna have a different action on the rod that they really like to throw. I like throwing a 7-foot medium heavy whitebird rod, actually, from Favorite, for skipping some of my lighter baits, 1/4 ounce and under usually. Just little things, little skipping jigs like this. Just small little finesse jigs that I can very easily skip up underneath docks and trees and any cover like that. And the reason for that is the 7-foot medium heavy by Favorite, the whitebird. It is a very pull ball bend rod. It has a lot of bend to it. You're gonna have most of your tip bend within the first foot to 2 feet down, and that's a lot of bend, obviously. But sometimes it's great for that aspect, for flipping jigs and getting that beautiful skip up underneath the dock or anything like that. So it's not always the way to go though, because if you're fishing some bigger, for some bigger fish like largemouth, pike, things like that, you're gonna wanna have a little bit beefier rod to set that hook. So that's where I kind of switch up and I go to either a 7-foot Ducket Jacob Wheeler series like I have right here, and I know I am Pro Staff favorite for Favorite, but I absolutely love this rod right here that Jacob Wheeler came out with. It is one of his signature series, and it's killer. This is a 7-foot medium heavy, and I definitely throw it more than a lot of my rods, that's for sure. Great skipping rod, great jig fishing rod. It's basically an all around just a great rod for sure. So after that being said, there's going to be some different situations though. Pre-spawn, you're going to be fishing for a lot of more bigger fish, so I definitely recommend upping that a little bit more, getting a little bit more of a backbone. If you're fishing out of a boat and you're making some of those longer casts, I definitely recommend a 7.2, 7.3, right around that area. You pick your poison, whether you want it extra heavy, heavy, medium heavy, whatnot. I usually tend to have an extra heavy rod on my boat and a medium heavy, and those two rods are usually gonna be for my longer rods at least are gonna be 7.3 extra heavy Summit that I run from Favorite, and then the other would be a 7'1" medium heavy Emperor rod, and both are just amazing, absolutely amazing jig fishing rods. You can feel the bite, upon contact as soon as they hit, and 90% of the time your hook's setting straight into them, no big deal. But if you're running a little bit shorter rod, if you're running one of those 7-foot or 6'6", and you're making some of those longer casts, and you're getting bit right on the drop, 90% of the time you're losing those fish, and it's mainly just because you don't have that backbone in the rod, that longer rod to get all that drive into that fish's mouth, and sometimes it takes a quick pop. So definitely that's where a little bit longer rod's going to come into play. That's where I start throwing in my 7'1", my 7'2", and my 7'3", and I usually all have those guys on deck with me just because of those certain situations. There's a lot of times where the bass are really boat shy. They're not wanting to get anywhere close to where you are, or they're down deep kind of deal. And having that longer rod to get that hook set and have that backbone is a must. So don't be scared to go out there and get a little bit longer rod. I'm not a huge fan on like 7-6 to even 8-foot rods. I know there's a time, I know there's a place. It's just where I live in some of the waters that I definitely fish, I don't really seem to need something that crazy. I do have a 7'6" rod. Is a little bit, I would say, out there, but it's a great 7'6" heavy whitebird that I got from Favorite. Big shout out to those guys. They're always helping me out and hooking me up, and and it's just, I would say, a largemouth rod, big time. I mean, if we're out fishing deeper waters and I find, come in contact with some fish down deeper, it always seems to be the guy that I pull out and start hammering them on. And it's got a great bend, probably good 2-foot bend, but it's got plenty of backbone to support it. So great rod, all in general. So anyways, let's go through these just a little bit here so you guys can get a good look. I don't have this guy actually rigged up right now, and I'm about to throw a different reel on it. But this is the 7'1" Emperor rod from Favorite. It is quite the beauty. Sometimes I don't even like to throw it because it's so dandy looking. But it's an absolute amazing jigging rod. So if you're ever looking in the market to get one of these guys, I will actually link my buddy's discount code down below. Unfortunately, I don't have a discount code yet. I'm not really 100% sure why, but I've been asking Favorite, and they just haven't really gave me a great answer. So anyways, I will link my buddy's code down below so you guys can at least get 20% off on your first rod purchase from Favorite. But yeah, it's a great buy. I definitely recommend getting your hands on one of these. You will be extremely happy with it, and it is an amazing jigging rod. You can also use it for like dragging shaky heads on the bottom, like little things like that, but we'll get more into depth later on that. So that is the Emperor rod. I hope you guys enjoy that little guy. See if I can get all my line out of the guides here. Alright, so we're going to be rigging that guy up to take with us on the next little journey. And this is, I would say, more of my largemouth flipping stick. This is the 7'3" extra heavy Summit rod. I have it paired up with a Corrado DC right now and a swim jig with a Z-Man Palmetto bug. I'm an absolutely huge supporter of Z-Man. I love their products. If you couldn't tell the hat, I mean, Z-Man is killer. They definitely are killer. Like I said, I run their TRD bugs that I just showed you guys. I run their Palmetto bugs. I run their like little swimming shads. A lot of their just zinkers. Their, a lot of their gear. TRD craws. Man, I can't name enough of these guys. So definitely don't hesitate to try on some Z-Man products. They do have that Elastec that makes them very, very stretchy and easily able to not break off after a few fish catches. Believe it or not, I've actually caught multiple fish on just TRD bug. These new TRD bugsies. I've actually caught over 30 to, I think it was like, I counted one day, I caught 45 fish on the same bait. And I lost both the pinchers. This is a Riot's Tantrum. It's missing one of the pinchers there, as you can see. But that, some of these TRD bugs that I've had have some little small appendages, and they get ripped off pretty easily. Even though they are Z-Man, and they have that elasticity, and they can, you know, stretch out 10,000 times or whatever, they still break, obviously, like any bait would. But here's the thing. You can catch 45 fish on that same exact plastic. How is that not selling you? I mean, really, how is that not selling you? So, that was my biggest seller, is that I could catch way more multiple fish, 10 plus, you know, over 10 plus easy on the same exact bait and not have any issues with it. So, definitely give them a try. They work great. Even when you get your appendages taken off. I caught 5 fish in a row, back to back to back, on the same exact TRD bug. Having no appendages, nothing. It was just a body there. It was just a body to make up the jig, and it still slayed. So, I am sold on Z-Man products. Thank you guys. I appreciate everything you do and all the work you put into your baits, because they are killer. So, without anything more said on that, that is the 7.3 extra heavy Summit rod. I love flipping this thing. This is my main flipping rod that I basically do for largemouth. Once in a while you'll see me take it out for some smallies, but not a whole lot. It's got to be pre-spawn kind of time when I'm bringing this guy out for smallies. But we do have a lot of really large smallmouth out here. It gets mistaken big time. Everybody thinks, you know, Missouri, Michigan's like the greatest spot to catch smallmouth, and I'm not gonna dog on any of those guys whatsoever, because everybody's gonna have their own opinion. Everybody's gonna have their own way, their own say. But the big thing is you're not always gonna catch a 3 or 4 pounder up here, but there's 6s and 7s and 8s hiding out here and there. So there is always a potential of a really big fish. I've caught this last pre-spawn. I caught multiple 4s and then a 5 pounder to end out the week. That actually broke my PB at 5.15, so 6 pounds, just a little bit over 6 pounds, and it was just insane. It was super insane. So there's definitely some big smallmouth up here in Washington. Don't stray away. Don't plan all your trips for Michigan, guys. Definitely plan a trip up here. Heck, you want a guided tour, I'll take you out, and we'll get on some big smallies. But it's a blast up here. It's definitely a different way of fishing. I've been told, at least. Like I said, I haven't fished a whole lot outside of Washington, Idaho kind of district, but there's some big smallmouth up here, guys. And there's also some big largemouth. So don't be afraid to mark on the calendar for a Washington or Idaho trip and come see your boy. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. That's pretty much going to do it with the jig fishing, the rods, the lures, the setups. Thank you guys for tuning in to this little video. I know it's kind of long, kind of dragging on. I like to do that sometimes, but jump in the comments down below, comment me up a storm, and I will try to get back with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial, this little video on just basically rigging up some jigs. It's a great time to be doing it right now. Fall fishing, jigging's going to be on, and I guarantee you Justin Rackley doesn't say jigs catch pigs for no reason, because they do. They definitely do. And you're not always going to catch pigs, but you're at least always going to catch fish. I catch a lot of fish up here in the Northwest on just a jig. There's just days I go out and just dedicate a jig in my hand to fishing different spots, different areas that I'm not used to. And sometimes, some of those days, I come up with some really, really great quality fish. So stay tuned, guys. We might have another little video out for you, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But But yeah, we'll see how the weather holds up and if we can get back on the water. I had one little video that I'm going to try to post up for you guys. It was just us out fishing around the Blue Bridge. I might even throw it at the end of this video here just to add some extra content in. But hope you guys enjoyed this this little content that I'm going to throw in here for you. Was just me and my buddy Anthony out in the old Little John boat, and we're just tearing it up on the river. It was actually a pretty odd day. We didn't catch a whole lot of fish. I caught 2, Anthony caught 2. Nothing spectacular, but the weather came in hard right at the end, and that's when I caught on my bite. Was right before the weather came in, and then Anthony had caught his right off the bat way before I did. I'm not even sure if I got his on film, but stay tuned, guys. Check out the content. What's up, guys? We're out here on the old Little John boat trying to catch some bass. Haven't had much for bites yet, but we're trying. Oh, I just got bit right there. Right underneath the boat. Alright, let's cruise over to the other side. I'll make one more cast out so you can fish that cast. Little fella.
Hey. I threw it in the eddy over here and
Rat. 4-2. I'm about to take it back to school. Fuck you, mosquito. I just might. Hooking it up. Not a kid. Alright, back to the original spot. Yeah. You know you want it. Huh? Yeah. There's one.
there you go. Get on the board, girl. Decent fish, but
See?
ooh, boat landing violation.
Yeah, I'm
Penalty.
gonna have to sit down for 2 minutes, huh? Jesus, dude. God dang it. He slobbergosted that one, though. I just felt the thump, and I'm like, I think he's there.
Actually, we were headed out there in the middle too.
Just a quick little thump, and they're already on.
They thumped it, and then I was wondering why there was a rainbow. Oh, good fish.
Bonk.
Go. Catching them.
Dude, me and the landing violations today.
4 minutes. That's a better fish.
There he goes. All right.
You're just not gonna get anything.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, just cruising up the bank and fishing our way up.
And then we could just drift and fish our way back down.
Yeah. You just catch the bridge? Like, how far up? Oh, man. Damn it, Bobby. Well, that's good. fun part's gonna be getting us out of here.
Oh wait, hey,
What?
turn around and just push yourself forward. If you're not too chicken, so you don't spider on the ladder. Shoot. There you are.
There we go.
There you
Gucci, man. Well, Brian said it's pouring at his place, so maybe we should start to head in.
go. Oh. Shoot. Yeah, look. It looks north.
He lives just above my house.
Oh, by your house?
Yeah. Might be that time.
It says it's pouring, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
He's like, it's raining.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought I saw rain clouds over there, but
So I messaged him back and I was like, no, it's not. Wait, we're dumb. We're underneath the bridge.
No, we're not now.
Well, not right this second, but we're about to be.
It's probably
We're about to be underneath the bridge, though. So you can just pull it up. It's no biggie. Here comes the wind. The calm before the storm. Yeah, we need to get underneath the bridge. So go ahead and pick that up.
Shit clips, 'cause I don't want to get my hand broken.
Yeah. Be on the train motor most of the rest of the day now.
It looks like the storm. We literally missed over there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's the rain. There's the rain. There's the rain. Hope you guys enjoyed the little jig fishing video. Now, finally got it up. I've been wanting to make this video for a little bit and help some of you guys out, and I hope this helped. So, like always, put a big old thumbs up if you liked the video. Hit that subscribe button. I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. I can't thank all my subscribers enough for staying on this journey with me. And I know it's been a little bit slow one lately, but I'm trying to get these videos edited. I'm trying to get some content out for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed. So please smash that thumbs up button. Till next time, guys.